Hello there, it's Sarah Harding here. I'm the Able Diabetic and it's great to see you. My mantra as the Able Diabetic is to share my experience, to enjoy life and to empower other people through the kind of information that I can provide. And today I'm here to talk about the Freestyle Libre system, the continuous glucose monitoring system that I use and that I think many more diabetics are starting to use as well. This is the system, it's from Abbott Laboratories and it's really superb. Today's video is just 6 of my top hints and tips, the things that I've learned through the 5 years that I've been using the system, the things that are just little practical things that help to make life a bit easier when you're using it. And they're small, but I think they're meaningful. The first is the position of the sensor. It's on the top of the upper arm at the back. The thing I was going to say about this is it's a good idea to not put it too far around. And the reason for that is that when you're wearing extra layers, especially in the winter, you do find yourself really reaching. And that makes it awkward to get the reading done, but it also makes the whole thing just seem like a bigger deal. And it kind of draws attention to you and all those kind of things. So it doesn't have to be all the way around. It can kind of be, on the outer part. And that's my first top tip. The second one was an issue when I first started using the system. The sensor is a very small thing. It only comes out of your skin kind of about 2 millimeters above. So it's not a big deal at all. But it is possible to knock it off. It's attached to your skin by a strong adhesive, like a kind of plaster adhesive, and it's really good at staying put for the 2 weeks that every sensor stays on your body. But it is possible to knock it off. I'd say to women out there, be particularly careful with your bra strap. That was the first way I lost mine, just completely forgot and knocked it off as I was taking my bra off in the evening. And you can also kind of misjudge going through things like doorways where you literally just kind of knock the thing off straight away. And you just don't want to do that. They're meant to last for a couple of weeks and that's a bit of a pain. So the second one does actually lead on to the third top tip, and that's to always have some in reserve. These days they're available on prescription for all diabetics in the UK. And it is a good idea to make sure that you do get your prescriptions far enough in advance that you've always got one in reserve. It becomes a real kind of drain when you don't have one. You quickly get used to relying on the information that it provides. It's a completely different kind of way of thinking about your blood sugar control. And so I do highly recommend that you just make sure that you've got one there for when you need one. The other piece of advice, the back 3, are all about the app that's on your phone. The first thing I would say about that is that if you keep it open all the time, you don't shut down the app, it performs better. I found it quite irritating when you close it down and you open it and then you go to measure, it sometimes takes a while to wake up, and that's a bit irritating. Whereas you get great performance if you leave it open and it's always there and it always seems to work. So that I'm really kind of happy to pass on. Top tip number 5 is around setting the alarms on the sensor. So you can set an alarm for when you go below a certain threshold into a hypo, and I do have that alarm set. You can also set thresholds when you go higher into a kind of hyper zone as well. And my top tip here is not to set that. Obviously you do want to know if you're going into that high zone, but if you check your bloods frequently enough, then you're going to see that anyway. And personally, I found it really irritating and disruptive to have that going off, particularly overnight. There's a really strong argument for having the hypo one on overnight, and I like that. I like to be woken up because my blood sugars are starting to go into that zone. That's really helpful. But the higher one, kind of going above 10 in the middle of the night and getting an alarm every time, I found just a bit too much. My last tip is around how to use the app in terms of what to focus on. There's loads and loads of different ways of looking at the data. And historically, I would always have looked at the averages that I'm running at any given time. But actually what I found most useful is focusing on the time and target. So you set a bottom threshold and a top threshold for the zone that you want to be in, the kind of the green zone, and focusing on just staying in that target is a really effective way of managing things. So that's the metric that I use as my top metric. So there you go, 6 of my top hints and tips if you're a new user of the Freestyle Libre. I hope that was useful. There is more information available on my website and more videos on YouTube, so please go there. They're both under the banner of the Able Diabetic. So thanks very much and see you again.